Hello everybody, I got a letter here, a comment on my channel. A gentleman from Croatia is asking me how exactly does the border crossing procedure, going when you're a trucker. How do you get all the paperwork? Do you have to go to the customs terminal, etc., etc. And I think that this might be of interest to other people who work as drivers in other countries. Basically, the way it works in Canada. And I deal with this all the time because I cross the border on practically every trip, as there's very few loads inside Canada. So each time let's say I just picked up a load of those chillers that I showed in the video. I picked them up in Virginia and I took them across the border to Ontario. So the way it works is that the shipper that loads you gives you two types of documents. One documents are for the load, let's say bills of lading, a packing list. Sometimes they might be something else there that basically I only keep the bill of lading signed by the consignee, right, by the receiver. Everything else I give to the receiver. But they also, what the ship also gives me besides the bill of lading and all the cargo related documents, he or she gives me border crossing related documents. And specifically, the one paper I cannot go to the border without is called customs invoice. It says, Canada Customs, and basically it provides the value of the load in dollars and shows who's the exporter is, buyer, owner, whatever. And that's one document that you always need to have if you show up. Basically, nowadays you cannot even show up at the border unless you pre-arranged everything. And the way it works is that, let's say now I'm loaded, I have the bill of lading, and I have the customs invoice, right? So now what I do, I call my dispatch, or as we call them at Landstar, agents. We don't have actual dispatch, we just each load is posted by an agent, kind of like a freight agent or freight broker, and they are our own internal agents, right? Internal brokers. So I call this particular agent who becomes my dispatch for this particular trip. Let's say this trip with 48,000 pounds of chillers, 3 machines from Virginia to Ontario. And I tell them that I need the electronic manifest. And that's the job of the agent or of the dispatcher. I tell him where and when I will be crossing. He already knows my truck number, my trailer number, and all he needs to know is the weight of the load and how many pieces I have. So let's say I tell him I have 3 pieces, 48,000 pounds, and what is it? It's chilling units or chillers. I think they just wrote it like that, chillers. And that's it. Then I just tell them when you're ready, email me this electronic manifest, and basically it just looks like a sheet of paper, just like a regular sheet of paper. It'll just say electronic manifest and a couple of lines of text on it. It's just no biggie. And then he emails me that sheet of paper. I have a internet access in the truck. I'm using one of those Wi-Fi, what do you call it, that I create my own Wi-Fi, right? So I check my email, I print that out using my portable printer, and now I have 3 documents. I have the customs invoice from the shipper, I have the bill of lading that the shipper gave me, and I have the electronic manifest that my dispatch sent me, right? So now I have to do the next step because I'm still not ready to go to the border. What I do is I look on the original load confirmation sheet that the agent sent me to see who the customs broker is and what their phone number and fax number is, right? And then I call that agent on the phone. I mean, the customs broker. I call him on the phone, and I tell them the name of the customer. Usually they go by the importer, like the company name in Canada. Let's say wherever I'm going. If I'm going to Canada, they want to know who's receiving these goods in Canada, who's the importer is. And I look on the customs invoice just to make sure that they are actually the customs broker for this load, because many times what happens is that the shipper tells you, hey, our broker is, let's say, Livingston, and then you call Livingston and they say, okay, who is it for? Who is this shipment going to? And I tell them the name of the company, and they say, hey, you never heard of them, we're not the broker. So go basically get lost or find the actual broker. But let's say this is the actual broker, And usually I don't like faxing, because they still do faxing, which is kind of stupid, because it's still, no one has fax machines anymore. They just have computers, right? So your fax actually goes inside their computer. But if you do faxing, unless of course you subscribe to those fax services, where you actually email to fax, but I don't like those. Or you can go to a truck stop, and those guys will charge you, I don't know, $1.50 per page. And of course, customs brokers, they don't care. They say, hey, send us everything. I mean, what do you need? You just need the customs invoice and the electronic manifest. No, we want to look at your bill of lading, and the bill of lading can be like 40 pages, 20 pages. So that's why I have a scanner in the truck, and usually what I do before I even call the customs broker, I scan my customs invoice, I scan my bill of lading, and I scan my electronic manifest, and I basically write already, and then I attach all that as a PDF file, and then I just write the body of the message, saying, hey, please prepare the shipment for crossing in this particular town, let's say Windsor, Ontario, or Sarnia, Ontario, from US into Canada. My truck number is this, my trailer number is this, and my cell phone number below. If you run into any problems, give me a call. And that's it. And then I call them, and I already have that email sitting on my computer, right? So I call them and I say, hey, I know you guys like faxing, but is there any chance I can email this stuff to you? Because there's like 10-15 pages, I don't want to pay for faxes. And usually they nowadays they all say, oh, no problem. They give me the email address, and I type it right there while I'm talking, and my computer is already online. So I hit enter, and that email goes to the broker, and then in a short while I'll just check to see if they received it. Usually they reply me saying, hey, received, and then and usually it takes them a couple of hours to prepare this. And then when I have that kind of confirmation, and the way I can get that is I can call them, or I can go to their website of this customs broker, and I just punch in my shipment control number, which is the number on the electronic manifest. It's called PARS or PAPS. Basically, that's how we used to call those stickers before. We used to have just a piece of paper that you stick on the customs invoice. No one uses them anymore. Now it's all electronic manifests, either going into US or from Canada into US, or you're from US to Canada. Basically, once I confirm that my shipment is ready for crossing, I just go to the border, and I say hi, show them, give the customs agent my invoice and the electronic manifest. And if everything is great, they just usually stamp that, and they let me go into the country. That's it. So the shipment is cleared, and I can proceed directly to the consignee or receiver to unload. And it works pretty similar on the way back. Let's say from from Canada to US, the same thing. I get a customs invoice, bill of lading. I call the agent to ask him to prepare the electronic manifest. This one is called ACE, ACE, and he emails me that ACE. I scan it. I call the customs broker. They put everything on the system. 1.5 hours, 2 hours later, I show up at the border, and that's it. The problems arise when the agent, like the dispatch, makes a mistake, and they don't put the right numbers in the right fields. Last time, because of this little mistake the agent made, I spent probably 3 hours at the border. And there's nothing you can do. You just act as a kind of barrier between the customs officer, who keeps screaming, well, not screaming, but they keep sending you back. Okay, call your agent, call your broker, call your, I call the broker, I tell him what the officer said, and the guy says, what are they talking about? We did everything on our end. Then I go again to the customs, and I say, hey, they say the agent says they fixed everything. And the guy looks at his computer, says, Jesus, they didn't do anything. Okay, give me 2 minutes. And he fixes it himself. Okay, you can go. So sometimes they just, when they see you sitting there for 3 hours, they show some, they feel your pain. So anyway, that's how it works. It's kind of the only time when you actually have to go to a customs warehouse, and that's a much more complicated procedure, is when you have a shipment in bond. And in bond means that it's moving usually from one country to a third country, and you just use that bond as a kind of a pass to cross through this second country. So let's say if you have a load from Canada going to Mexico, right, and it's on my truck, and then when I show up at the border with US, just I must have that bond so that they let me through the country. But that's kind of a guarantee that I'm not delivering that thing anywhere inside US, that is going beyond the borders of US. And that's when you have once you are at the border, let's say with Mexico and US, you should go to some kind of a special warehouse, and you must cancel that bond. But that's a whole other ball game. That's I don't do that often. Usually it's just this: customs invoice, bill of lading, electronic manifest, boom boom boom, you pre-arrange everything, and a couple of hours later you can cross. So that's how it works. That's what we truckers have to go through. Canadian truckers are very experienced with these kind of things, because 99% of our loads go across the border into US. There's hardly any loads inside Canada, let's say from Toronto, Ontario to, I don't know, BC. Once in a while I'll see one on the load board, but they don't pay you very well. Usually they're very heavy, so I'd rather go into US. So thanks for watching. This was Sergey Drachev in Cambridge, Ontario.